Coast Guard representative earlier this morning who described the calls as bone-chilling. She says they still have not located the boater who made those calls, but says they haven't stopped searching since the calls came in. And right now, crews are searching this area.
When someone reaches out for help, there is an expectation, a voice on the other end, a system designed to respond. But sometimes the recording itself becomes the mystery. Welcome to the Lost Tapes 404. Tonight, we're examining 3 real emergency recordings that were officially logged, acknowledged, and investigated, yet later dismissed, denied, or quietly explained away. The audio itself was never publicly released. These are not urban legends. These are recordings that exist on paper but were never meant to be heard. And in every case, the system worked exactly as designed until it didn't. In the early 1970s, multiple listening stations across Europe were monitoring routine maritime and aviation emergency frequencies. These channels were not public radio. They were reserved exclusively for distress signals, signals that followed strict formats, specific codes, and internationally recognized procedures designed to prevent confusion or false alarms. During one such monitoring session, operators detected a transmission that immediately raised concern. The signal began as static, then a voice emerged. It was faint, male, calm, and speaking English. The voice did not follow any distress protocol. There was no ship name, no coordinates, no call sign. Just a short, deliberate message stating that the speaker was in trouble and requesting assistance. There was no panic in his voice, no urgency, just a controlled request that sounded almost rehearsed. Operators attempted to respond immediately, repeating standard acknowledgement phrases and requesting identification. There was no reply. Moments later, the transmission repeated, this time weaker. The same voice, the same phrasing, the same absence of identifying information. Then it vanished completely. Standard emergency procedure followed. Search and rescue agencies were notified. Frequency logs were cross-checked. Maritime authorities reviewed vessel traffic. Aviation officials reviewed flight paths. No ships were missing. No aircraft were overdue. No emergency beacons had been activated. Weather conditions across the region were normal. Then, something stranger surfaced. Technical analysis showed the signal did not match any known transmitter in use at the time. The frequency drift was inconsistent with maritime radios of the era. Signal strength suggested an origin somewhere over open ocean, yet no vessel capable of producing that transmission existed in the region. When investigators attempted to trace the signal retroactively, they hit a dead end. The transmission had been logged, acknowledged, documented, but there was no sender to attribute it to. The official conclusion labeled the event as atmospheric interference combined with signal overlap, a rare anomaly. The case was quietly closed. Yet, veteran radio operators disagreed. Privately, they pointed out that atmospheric interference does not form structured human speech. It does not pause between sentences. It does not repeat phrasing. And it does not ask for help. The recording itself was never released publicly. Only written summaries remain in monitoring reports and technical radio journals from the period. A real distress call logged by professionals with no sender and no explanation that fully fits. Sometimes the mystery isn't where the call came from. It's how the call happened at all. Because in the next case, the system did exactly what it was designed to do until it reached a result that shouldn't exist. In the late 1990s, a regional emergency dispatch center in the United States received a late-night call that immediately stood out. The caller was whispering. They sounded disoriented, afraid, struggling to stay coherent. They said they were trapped, that it was dark, that they couldn't see clearly. The dispatcher tried to slow them down, asking for a location, a name, anything that could be used to trace the call. The responses came in fragments, half sentences, long pauses. breathing that suggested the caller was trying not to be heard. Then the line went dead. Standard protocol kicked in. Dispatch attempted an automatic callback. It failed instantly. No ring, no connection attempt, just an error. The system flagged the incoming number as invalid. Not blocked, not private, invalid. That alone was unusual, but further checks revealed something more disturbing. The number did not exist within any assigned numbering plan in North America. The carrier code was not registered to any telecommunications provider. There was no hardware record, no billing record, no SIM registration, and no spoofing signature consistent with the technology available at the time. Yet, the call had lasted over a minute. It had been routed through official emergency infrastructure, recorded, time-stamped, logged. Technicians were brought in to audit the system. They reviewed switch logs, trunk routing, and call authentication data. Possible explanations were explored: signal bouncing, cross-line interference, early VoIP glitches, which were rare but known. Nothing matched. In the 1990s, spoofing technology was crude. It could disguise a number or block identification, but it could not fabricate a fully invalid number that still passed emergency routing authentication and reached a dispatcher's console. The dispatcher involved reportedly pushed for action anyway. A welfare check was authorized based on the limited information the caller had given. Units were sent to the rough area described. They found nothing. No distressed individual, no signs of forced entry, no abandoned phone, no missing persons report that matched the voice or circumstances. The incident was eventually categorized as a telecommunications anomaly and quietly filed away. No further investigation was pursued. But the recording itself was never erased. It continues to be referenced in internal dispatcher training discussions as an example of a call that, by all technical standards, should not have been possible. An emergency call with no phone, no origin, and no one to rescue. Emergency systems are designed to respond. They listen, they acknowledge, they act. But the most unsettling question isn't when help doesn't arrive, it's when something else answers first. Maritime emergency frequencies are among the most strictly regulated communication channels on Earth. When a Mayday call is issued, every vessel within range is legally required to listen, log the transmission, and assist if possible. In the early 2000s, a distress call was broadcast from a small vessel traveling through open waters at night. The call was brief but unmistakable. The speaker reported mechanical failure, taking on water, and requested immediate assistance. The transmission followed proper distress formatting and was strong enough to be clearly received by Coast Guard operators monitoring the channel. The Coast Guard acknowledged the call and attempted to establish continued contact. Before they could, another voice came over the frequency. The second voice claimed the situation was already being handled. It did not identify a ship name. It did not provide coordinates. It did not issue a formal response code. It simply stated calmly that assistance was no longer required. Operators assumed the responding vessel was nearby and requested identification, position, and confirmation of the original ship's condition. There was no reply. Radar operators scanned the surrounding area. No registered vessels appeared near the reported coordinates beyond routine commercial traffic miles away. Automatic identification system data showed nothing capable of responding that quickly. Despite this, search and rescue teams were deployed. They found nothing. No vessel in distress, no debris field, no oil slick, no activated emergency beacon. The original ship was never located. Investigators reviewed the recording repeatedly. What stood out was not just what was said, but how it was said. The responding voice was calm, clear, controlled, almost professional. It did not sound like a civilian sailor improvising under pressure. It did not sound confused or rushed. It sounded certain. Audio analysts noted that the voice did not match the original caller. The timing between transmissions was unusually precise, and the response came quickly enough to suggest the responder was already monitoring the distress channel before the mayday was issued. The incident was officially closed as a miscommunication combined with signal overlap from an unidentified vessel. No further inquiry was pursued, but no ship ever claimed responsibility for the response. No logs were submitted. No captain reported rendering assistance. No paperwork followed. Someone answered a mayday call, someone who was not supposed to be there. And after that response, the original distress signal was never heard again. These recordings were logged, investigated, and explained away. But explanations don't erase recordings, and they don't silence the questions they leave behind. Emergency systems exist to bring order to chaos, to create certainty in moments of fear. But these recordings did the opposite. They were acknowledged, then quietly dismissed, filed away as errors instead of answers. And somewhere inside those archives, the recordings still exist, waiting, because not every call for help was meant to be resolved. Thank you for watching The Lost Tapes 404. Remember, some files were never meant to be found. Stay curious, stay cautious. Good night.